So with the release of 28 Years Later coming out now, I thought we'd do a deep dive into the previous two movies that came along beforehand, starting straight away with 28 Days Later. So 28 Days Later is a movie that was released in 2002, starring Cillian Murphy, Naomi Harris, Christopher Eccleston and Brendan Gleeson, and directed by Danny Boyle. And my first impressions of this movie were it's just absolutely amazing to watch. Something just so raw and unedited throughout. The grainy footage, the hazy sort of overlay of the camera lens just makes it feel as though you are there as part of the action, just watching it, and just adds that extra visceral feel to the entire movie. So we start off with a group of activists that break into a lab to try and rescue some chimpanzees that are being tested on. Whilst there, a scientist tries to stop them, but then in the end just tries to warn them the fact that the chimpanzees are infected with a virus called rage and are highly contagious. Any bite or transfer of blood or saliva will cause the virus to be passed on to another. Unfortunately, the activists don't listen. They still go on their plan to try and release the chimpanzees, and upon releasing one of them, the female activist is attacked and the illness or the virus is transferred over to her, and we see the effects of that take place. Straight away, she then starts to attack the others and transfer that virus on and on and on and on until finally we cut to 28 days later. So we're then introduced to our main character called Jim, played by Cillian Murphy, who wakes up in a hospital bed, completely abandoned by everything and unsure as to how he's even ended up in that situation. As Jim explores more and more of the deserted city, he then ends up being attacked by a group of people who are quite clearly infected by the rage virus. That causes him to be rescued by Selena, played by Naomi Harris, and her friend Mark, who then explain what has ultimately happened up until this point. The outbreak of the rage virus caused a mass exodus, leaving only a few people left behind on the island to fight for survival. And as the film goes on, we realise that actually a lot of the people that are left behind are devoid of that emotional attachment to people who they're with in case they have to kill them if they become infected. And that's demonstrated by Selena having to kill Mark when he gets bitten. As they continue to fight for survival, Jim and Selena cross paths with Frank and Hannah, a father and daughter who have been advertising for people to come and join their cause to travel to Manchester after hearing a radio broadcast promising the cure for the virus. Now the group travel up there in the black cab. They go shopping for food. I mean, everyone's dream of going to a deserted supermarket is certainly mine. I hate people in a supermarket. They do have a narrow miss with the infected while they're trying to change a tyre in a tunnel, in perhaps one of the most tense scenes I think I've probably experienced in recent history, I have to say. That was absolutely incredible, that scene. But eventually they do make it up to Manchester, and this still hurts me even talking about it now. But throughout the entire journey, Selena and Jim have just marvelled at the relationship between the father and daughter, almost something that they've forgotten about, the love that can be shared and the connection that can be shared between two people during their sort of fight for survival. But unfortunately, that's brought to an end when Frank looks up at a dead body with a crow pecking at it, and a drop of infected blood drops in his eye and infects him. Unable to do anything else, Jim does go towards Frank to try and kill him, but he's beaten to it by the military force that's there that have ultimately sent out this broadcast message to call for people to join them. They are taken to the compound where we are introduced to Christopher Eccleston's Major West, who is leading up a very small military force and has created a quite safe space to fight off any attacks from infected. But throughout the time that you sort of walk through the house and walk through the setup that they've got there, there's something uneasy and you can't quite put your finger on it. You don't know enough to understand why you feel that way, but that sense is there. As it goes on, it's revealed why you feel so uncomfortable. When Christopher Eccleston takes Jim to one side after he has stopped Selena from being advanced upon by another soldier, he explains to Jim that in order to keep morale up, he has promised them women and promised them access to women, two of which have landed straight in their hands. It makes you feel sick, and it just brings home the fact of when faced with extinction, human beings are going to revert to their primal instincts, and that is essentially their own needs. Jim and another sergeant don't agree and don't go along with this plan, try and stop it from happening, but unfortunately they're taken out and taken to be executed by 2 other soldiers. The sergeant is executed, Jim manages to escape, and somehow, no idea how he manages to do it, but he ends up going back to the blockade off the motorway and sets up a trap for Major West to come down. He kills off the soldier with him, he sabotages his vehicle, causing Major West to have to then go back to the house on foot, but Jim beats him back. Now, a key detail I did miss out, admittedly, but it is a key one. Whilst there, Major West had an infected soldier who he managed to knock out and tie up so they could observe how long it would take for them to starve to death. When Jim gets back, he shoots the shackles off this infected soldier and allows him just to go to town on his previous comrades, just absolutely destroying them left, right, and centre, whilst he works around it and saves Selena and Hannah from any sexual advances that come their way. By the end of it, they manage to escape, albeit Jim does get shot in the stomach by Major West before he is then killed by the infected soldier that he enslaved. And they, all 3 of them, end up away on their own in a safe spot, just calling for help for a nearby passing plane. Now, like I said, it does feel fairly low budget with regards to the shots that are taken, but you can see that it's not. It's clearly a choice made by Danny Boyle to do the shots like that, just to make you feel as though there is no escape from you from the action. You feel every single emotional pull that the characters feel. You feel the tension that's in every single scene. And it doesn't stop. It just releases slightly each time before then gripping you once again. And there is no looking away from this film. There is no sense of stopping it. There's no sense of pausing it. It is just there and you have to ride it out. And that for me is just something I've not really felt before in a movie previously. So overall, I mean, this film is just tension-filled, action-packed. There is no getting away from it at all. As soon as you put it on, as soon as you start watching it, there is no getting off there. You're locked in until it's finished. And because of that, and just because of how visceral and raw it is, I have to say 5 stars. So what did you guys think about 28 Days Later? Well, as always, pop your opinions down in the comments. I'd love to read through them, see what you thought about them. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you soon.